Alrighty, it is 1:05 a.m. on 10/25/2024. I'm going to give you an update on how I'm doing and what my treatment options are that are upcoming. I am doing amazing. I can't believe how good I'm doing. If I didn't know I had cancer, I wouldn't know I've had cancer. I have spent the last 5 weeks juicing, eating raw fruits and vegetables. I particularly like red bell peppers and cabbage. Drinking lots of water. I got off of Coke. I do drink some Gatorade. I know it's got salt and sugar in it, but it doesn't have carbonation or caffeine, which is what's real bad. And I'm trying to improve my health for what is coming. Now, have you ever heard the old saying, you have to choose between the lesser of two evils? Well, I'm going to have to choose between the lesser of two awfuls, because both options I've been given are awful. Option number one, the goal is to cure. Radical cystectomy plus neoadjuvant chemo. They remove the bladder, the prostate, the lymph nodes. Cure rate is 70%. Surgery is 4 to 6 hours. Hospital stay 1 to 2 weeks. No heavy lifting for 6 weeks. Now, my doctor, this robotic surgeon, wrote these notes. Goal number 2, chemo, radiation. The goal is cure. You notice he didn't put much of any notes because that's two different doctors. The chemo doctor and the radiation doctor are different. Then they have what they call the palliative, non-curative approach. This is for your great-grandpa who may be 85, 90 years old, who can't handle chemoradiation or the surgery. So they go in and they do a repeat TURBT. Now, that's the surgery that I had, transurethral resection of bladder tumor, TURBT, where they put the scope through your penis up into the bladder and they burn out as much of the tumor as they can. I call this whack-a-mole because they're going to just keep going in there and doing these repeat TURBTs. Then they give you systemic immunotherapy, chemotherapy, directly into the bladder. They just pump the bladder full of it and let it sit in there for about an hour, and then they drain it out into the toilet, and then they pour bleach into the toilet. Life expectancy is not very long, 2.5 years. So I have to choose between option one. Well, let me tell you the problem with option one. They remove your prostate. That means when it comes to sex, if you can still get an erection, there will be no semen. You will not, I don't know any other way to put it than to say you will not shoot spooch. That's just how it is. And then they're going to give you something like this, a plastic bag. The two kidneys drain into a piece of your intestine over to a plastic nipple called a stoma, and your urine drains into the plastic bag. Now, they do have ways of making an internal bladder out of a piece of your intestine, but you still have to manually drain it with a catheter stuck up through your penis. And they do say over time, in about a year, you can learn to contract your butt muscles around that piece of intestine that's made into a bladder and force urine out, but it leaks all the time. It's not a very good option. Most people opt for the plastic bag. Man, I do not want to live like that. What happens if you have colon cancer 6 months later? Now you got 2 plastic bags. There's people out there like that. I've looked that up. I don't want to live bad enough to live with 2 plastic bags, or 1 plastic bag for that matter. The problem with the chemo radiation, you got to have a second TURBT first because they don't get it all out on the first try. So they have to go back in and do a second TURBT. And then you have to do the chemo and the radiation. And the side effects of the chemo and radiation are awful. Could last for months or years or forever. And then, after 2 months of chemo and radiation, you then have to go back every 3 months and have the TV camera put back in. Every 3 months, you have to go back and have the TV camera put through the penis, to make sure it don't come back. You have to do that for 2 years. That's 4 times a year for 2 years. And if it comes back, you're back to playing the whack-a-mole. Repeat TURBT over and over. I've talked to both the chemo and the radiation doctors twice in their office. I've seen them twice. They feel like my case is a good case because the tumor has not grown into the bladder wall. So let me show that tumor one more time. What the heck? This is why they can't get it all out at once. They have to do it twice. So I am going on November the 5th, that's election day, and I'm going to have a repeat TURBT. Then it'll take 4 weeks to heal for that, and then start the chemo radiation. That's 2 months almost, 7 weeks. And I don't even know if they'll start it around the holidays or wait till after. So I'm looking at springtime getting through all this. So anyway, that's where we are. I'm going with option number 2. And when I go in to do the chemo radiation, I will take my camera in and give y'all some pictures or videos of what that. Also, on the chemo radiation, they have to install a chemo port in your chest. They put it up in there near the collarbone where they connect the port into a vein so that when you go in to get your chemotherapy, they just plug right into the port. They don't have to stick a needle in your vein every time you go in. So that's another procedure that'll cost me a $250 copay. Boy, I'm glad to have that out of my bladder, though. All right. I still love my AR-15s. Oh, we'll get back to that soon, too. I bought a demilled Colt full auto lower receiver from Arms Unlimited. It's pretty neat. See if I can get something up on that soon.